Cease all conversations. We'll call the court to order at this time. I will follow my own advice. Okay, my name is Matt Rothe. I'm the Stoughton Municipal Judge. This covers the city of Stoughton, towns of Dunkirk, Pleasant Springs, and Rutland. I'd like to go through some of the procedures we follow in the courtroom. These procedures should have been available to you in a pamphlet on the podium in the back as you entered the court. This is a plea night. We take pleas tonight. Your three plea options are guilty, no contest, or not guilty. If you enter a not guilty plea, we'll schedule your matter for a pretrial conference on December 13th, 2017, at which time both you and the city attorney will be able to meet and see if you can resolve the case. We take people on a first-come, first-served basis. If you enter a no contest or guilty plea, I'll review your citation, find you guilty, and impose an appropriate forfeiture. A plea of no contest is similar to a guilty plea, but a conviction arising from a no contest plea cannot be used against you in a later civil action. Let me explain that. Say if you're involved in a traffic accident and you receive a traffic citation, if you enter a no contest plea to that traffic citation, the person that you were involved in a traffic accident with can't sue you later if you, or they can't use that no contest plea against you if they sue you later. The forfeiture ranges from $20 to $10,000. Almost all are within the $50 to $200 range. The state mandates that we add cost to your forfeiture. For example, a $50 forfeiture will result in a total fine of $124. I'll grant you 30 days to pay the fine. If you need additional time, please let me know. I have limited options on how to collect. I can suspend your driver's license for a year. I can send your, I can intercept your taxes. I can, I can actually send your fine amount to state collections and they can garnish your wages. I'd rather not do that. I'd rather work out a payment plan. So if you need additional time, just let me know. Those of you facing traffic offenses should understand that most traffic offenses carry between 3 and 6 points. If you accumulate 12 or more points within a 1-year period, you will lose your license to drive for a period of time. You'll also be fined. Please note that if you have a probationary license, that means you've received a license within the last 3 years. Point totals will double for your second offense, second and subsequent offenses. I'd like you to be aware of some of your rights before entering your plea. You have a right to ask for a continuance. This means that you can set over your case to another time, either to consult with a lawyer or for some other reason. This is a civil court, civil penalties. You're not entitled to a public defender. However, you may hire an attorney at your own cost. You also have a right to a trial. Please remember your rights when considering your plea. Those you charged with operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated are entitled to request a jury trial at circuit court upon payment of proper fees. All their cases will be handled in this court with the right to appeal my ruling to the circuit court. That concludes my introductory remarks. I now take people on a first-come, first-served basis. Hang on a second. I'm getting the circle delay. Okay. First case would be Jasper Roy Johnson. Mr. Johnson, do I have your correct address in Forest Avenue in Beloit?
Yep.
You were cited for operating while under the influence. We know that as operating motor vehicle while intoxicated or drunk driving, essentially. The penalties are as follows. Just a second, let me squeeze this down. Okay. The forfeiture on this citation is $861. The forfeiture range on this citation is $150 to $300. However, they add a $435 surcharge and then state costs as well. So the forfeiture on this is $861. You also receive a 6 points issued to your driver's license. In addition, I can revoke your driver's license from 6 to 9 months. And if you had a refusal or an alcohol level of 0.15 or higher, I have to order an interlock ignition device be installed and all vehicles registered in your name for a period of 12 months. There's also a $50 surcharge for that IID. If this was a refusal, marked as a refusal, then the revocation time is 12 months. So 6 to 9 months, IID, total fine of $861, and 6 points issued your driver's license. Do you understand what operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated is?
Well, yeah, but I didn't think I was intoxicated.
Okay. If you like, I can enter a not guilty plea, and we can set this for a pretrial conference with the city attorney.
All right.
Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll enter a not guilty plea. Schedule this for, what was that date again? It was December 13th. Okay.
He did not request a hearing. His license was revoked yesterday.
Okay, since you did not, with a refusal, what happens with that, if you don't request a driver's license, or a hearing within 10 days, the state automatically revokes your license, and your license has been revoked for 12 months.
12 months.
Yes.
All right.
So we'll still enter a not guilty plea. We'll schedule this matter for pretrial conference. I'll give you notice.
So if I do guilty, then I gotta get a breath. Well, I guess I don't even need that then.
Well, you don't need what?
Well, because you said that I was gonna need one of them little things to put in your car. You gotta breathe into it, right?
Correct.
But that doesn't even matter then.
Right, if you've already been found guilty of the refusal. I mean, not guilty. You have a certain amount of time to request a refusal, so 10 days, and if you don't, you've automatically been deemed to refuse.
I'm confused. So, I still gotta get that in my car?
Do you still have to get that in your car? Yes, if you want your driver's license back.
Oh, yeah, I can get my driver's license back if I get that put in my car.
What happens is, the way the refusal statutes are drafted, they're pretty complicated. But what happens is, the DOT says when you first get a product is when that 12 months would begin. If you get an occupational license, that's when the product starts. So it would, even if you wait out 6 months, or 12 months and then get one, you would still have to put an IID on your vehicle. So it starts in the moment you either get a regular driver's license or an occupational license.
So then if I get it,
Get
then I
what?
can-
Get an occupational license?
no, is that what the little breathalyzer is?
No, it's called an interlock ignition device. That's when you have to blow into the machine in order for the car to start.
Right. So if I do that, then I can still drive?
With limited hours, you could have an occupational license. Usually an occupational license is no more than 60 hours a week, but you have to use it while either going to work, going to school, or going to church,
Right, yeah.
essentially.
And
Is
that
that
little
what you-
device is $50?
$50, we charge you that. It's about, from the people I've talked to, it costs anywhere from $750 to $150 per month to have installed in your vehicle, but that's your own expense. I can only charge you what I was required in the law. I don't know how much an IID costs to install in your vehicle.
Well, that's like making somebody go bankrupt.
Well, here, you know what, I'm gonna enter a not guilty plea because you're telling me a lot about your case right now, and without the prosecutor, I can't hear your comments. So I'll enter a not guilty plea. We'll schedule this matter for pretrial conference on 12/13, and then a chance to see if you and the city can resolve that.
All right.
For a pretrial conference, make sure that we hold those downstairs in the dispatch, or through the second set of doors. In a conference room on the left, it will mark pretrial conferences. Make sure that you appear, because if you don't appear, I'll impose all those penalties as I listed before. Okay?
Right, all right. So you said the 13th?
Correct. I will give you a form in just a minute. All right, stop. Why don't you go around to the front? In fact, why don't you go back to the podium? I'll hand this to the bailiff, and then he can give it to you. Thank you. Suzanne Brixton? How do I get this spitting screen? Just a minute, Ms. Brixton.
Sure.
Okay, I just click off of it. Okay, that works. Okay, Ms. Brixton, do I have your correct address on County Road MN in McFarland?
Yes.
Okay, you've been cited for failure to keep vehicle under control. This citation carries a penalty of $136.60 and 4 demerit points issued to your driver's license. Do you understand what failure to keep your vehicle under control is?
If you have a better explanation, I'd love to hear it.
It's contrary to 346.57 subsection 2, which carries a bond amount of $40 to $300. You're at $60 plus costs. You're on the low end of the possible cost. 346.57 subsection 2 reads as follows. Reasonable and prudent limit. No person shall drive a vehicle at a speed greater than is reasonable and prudent under the conditions and having regard for the actual and potential hazards then existing. The speed of a vehicle shall be so controlled as may be necessary to avoid colliding with any object, person, vehicle, or other conveyance on or entering the highway in compliance with legal requirements and using due care. Does that
Okay.
make more sense?
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right. All right, so do you understand that? Do you have a probationary license?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so the probationary license, it would have lasted?
After 3 years?
Yes,
So I'm on my 3rd year then.
okay. So
believe.
yeah, you would be, if you would have gotten, basically, say if I got my driver's license at 16, the probationary license would expire when I was 19.
Okay.
So
I got
basically,
my license
what's
when I
that?
was 18.
okay, so,
I'm still on it.
all right, so you have a probationary license. Is this your second citation ever?
Yes.
Okay, so what happens is this would double to 8 points instead of 4.
Oh, okay.
And I don't have any authority to basically to amend the points at all on this type of citation. So if your license is in jeopardy, and it might be, what I would suggest is you enter a not guilty plea and
Okay.
to meet with the city attorney to see if you're able to resolve this citation.
Okay.
Okay, and that's what we'll do.
This is at Town of Pleasant Springs, so I'll have to send her the notice because we do those different.
Okay, this is a Town of Pleasant Springs citation
Yeah.
instead of the city of Stoughton. We do those a little differently, so we'll send you notice of the pretrial conference at your address. Just watch the mail and then just follow the instructions then. Most likely you'll have to probably call the city or the town attorney to see if you're able to resolve this citation then.
Okay.
Okay. Normally we have a pretrial conference scheduled downstairs, but that's just for the city of Stoughton. So watch your mail, and when you get that, just follow accordingly. It will be on or likely the call on or before December 13th.
Okay.
Okay, and with that, that will take care of it this evening then.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is this a 3?
Yes.
Okay. Rosalie Rodenberg. Ms. Rodenberg, do I have your correct address at Broadway Street in Stoughton?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You received a citation for improper passing or stop for school bus. This citation carries a penalty of $250 and 3 demerit points issued your driver's license. Now, the bond amount on this, let me check for you on that. The bond amount is basically is the range at which these citations are issued. I always like to tell you about the range and where you sit on the range as well. In fact, I don't like to, I'm required to. All right. Bond on this is $30 to $300. So you're approximately at $130 plus costs for $250. So you're kind of in the middle range of the bond. That's what
Okay.
that means. Do you understand what improper passing for a stopped school bus is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So you understand that you're facing 3 demerit points and a forfeiture of $250.
Yes, it was rainy that day.
Okay. Again, I'm going to advise everybody not to try to explain this. We're just taking pleas tonight. What
Okay.
happens is if you tell me too much, I've heard too much, and I have to recuse myself, and you have to go to another court.
Okay,
You haven't
so-
told me enough, but.
Okay, so
but
just
so you're.
no
you're aware.
contest then,
Okay. You understand that with a no contest plea, I must find you guilty?
I guess.
I mean, I want you
Yes.
to be sure. So, I mean, if you want to talk to the city attorney to discuss points or forfeiture, then the best way to do that would be a not guilty plea.
Okay, I'll do that then, not guilty.
We'll schedule this for a not guilty plea. Schedule and set the matter for pretrial conference. Now, this is a city of Stoughton, so the rules apply. That we have our pretrial conferences downstairs in the conference room through the second set of doors to be on your left. Make sure that you appear, because if you don't appear, I'll find you in default and I'll find you guilty, and I'll impose all those forfeitures that I mentioned before. And then bring whatever witnesses or documents might help your case. And then, because it's a chance to meet with the city attorney to see if you can resolve the citation.
Okay.
So I will give you that notice in just a minute. You want to step forward, I can give you the notice directly. Normally I do, but When somebody approaches and starts walking around the bench, I get a little nervous. All right, thank you. Rick Cedarbrick? Did I say that correctly?
Second
Very good. Just a minute, Mr. Segebrick. Mr. Segebrick, do I have your correct address in State Road 138 in Stoughton?
Yes.
All right. You also received a citation for failure to keep a vehicle under control. This citation carries a penalty of $136.60 and 4 demerit points issued to your driver's license. The bond amount on that, I believe, was between $40 and $300. Let me check that again. I will note for the record that we had the citation earlier, and Mr. Segebrick was in the courtroom, but I want to make sure I get everything right. $40 to $300 is the forfeiture range, and you're at $60 plus cost. Do you understand what failure to keep vehicle under control is?
Yes.
All right. You understand the points and the forfeiture amount as well?
Yes.
Now's the time I take your plea. Guilty, no contest, or
No
not guilty.
contest.
You understand with no contest plea, I must find you guilty?
Yes.
All right. Why did you appear tonight?
I was encouraged by the officer that handled my call to just show up in case he had a trouble finding, he said, I have to cite you for something, and so he was kind of throwing me, I guess, to you if there was any chance of leniency on points or whatever like that. He said, just, it doesn't hurt to show up, but,
Right. Normally, on the straight speeding violations, I usually give people a 10-mile-an-hour leeway. But for these, I don't have any
understand.
discretion. Okay, you still want to proceed with no contest?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Let me review the police report. I want to make sure I have a factual basis for your
Okay.
plea. Okay, I have read the police report. I do find a factual basis for your plea. Accept your no contest plea and find you guilty. Anything you'd like to say before I decide on a sentence?
no.
I think this is an unusual case. I think the dog should have received the citation. Not you.
She could not appear tonight, so I'm here in her place.
I'll give you the minimum forfeiture of $111.40 then.
Thank you.
How much time do you need to pay that?
I could pay it tonight.
Okay, I'll give you what's called a judgment of conviction. Since we're altering the fine amount, it will take just a minute to print out.
Okay.
But what you can do is that if you can pay that tonight, there's a dispatch window downstairs.
Okay.
You can take the disposition in order that I'm going to give you. Just take that to the window and make payment at the dispatch window then.
Thank you.
Okay. And with that, once you receive it, all right, if you want to step forward, I can give you this, and that will take care of it for this evening then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Terrence Johnson? Mr. Johnson, do I have your correct address in Black Oak Drive?
Yes.
In Edgerton, excuse me. You received a citation for failure to yield while making a left-hand turn. This citation carries a penalty of $98.80 and 4 demerit points issued to your driver's license. Do you understand what failure to yield while making a left turn is?
Yes.
Okay, and there's also a DOT requirement. Thank you. That basically, I don't see any circumstances. The DOT also makes you take a class. Sometimes if you receive a failure to yield the citations. There's also additional penalties if there's bodily harm, great bodily harm, or death, but I don't see that here. What I would suggest is, I know that we've done work in the past, so there probably would be a conflict for me to hear this. What I would suggest is enter a not guilty plea, meet with the city attorney and see if you can resolve it.
Yep.
And I'll the potential conflict with the city attorney as well. For the record, I've known Mr. Johnson for a long time, and it might be a conflict for me to hear this if you contested it then. Okay, so what I will do is I'll enter a not guilty plea, schedule this matter for a pretrial conference with the city attorney. Again, make sure that you appear. It'll be held downstairs to the second set of doors. It'll be marked pretrial conference.
Yep.
There's also a phone number on there if you want to discuss it prior to that. Make sure that you appear. If you don't, I will find you defaults and I'll find you guilty then. So, thanks. You want to step forward and grab this? Thanks, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Brittany Klimek? Klimek? Klimek. I'm never quite sure with those. Okay. Ms. Klimek, do I have your correct address on Main Street in Stoughton?
Yeah,
All right. 2 citations.
there's 2?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, scared me.
Yeah, sorry about that. The citation was for disorderly conduct with a motor vehicle. That citation carries a penalty of $124 and 0 demerit points issued your driver's license. The bond range on this is from $30 plus costs to $1,000 plus costs. You're at $50 plus costs for the bond range. Do you know what disorderly conduct with a motor vehicle is?
Yes,
All right. You understand it's $124 and 0 points as well?
yes,
Any questions for the court?
no,
Now's the time I take your plea. 3 plea options are guilty, no contest, or not guilty.
no contest.
Do you understand with no contest plea, I must find you guilty?
Yes,
All right. Let me read the police report. I want to make sure I have a factual basis for your plea.
Okay.
If you're in a no contest plea, why?
I
what-
can't pay it.
Oh, okay.
I just need a little bit of time.
Sure,
I'm in my
that's something we
second
can talk about.
week of my job.
Okay. I have read the police report. I do find a factual basis for your plea, accept your no contest plea and find you guilty. Anything you'd like to say before I decide on a sentence? Okay. I do feel the $124 is an appropriate forfeiture, and I'll order that you pay $124. Now, how much time do you need to pay?
At 30 days is fine, I think.
That's normally what I give.
Oh,
so-
okay, well, can I get a little bit more
How
than
about
that?
I'll give 60 days to pay?
That would be great.
Okay, and then I'll give you 60 days to pay, and if at the end of the 60 days, rather than order your driver's license, actually, for this one, I think I can just intercept your taxes. Rather than do all that, if you need more time, there's a number on the form that you can call.
Okay.
And just call and make an arrangement where you can have a hearing and you can ask for more time. Usually, the prosecutor has no objections to a few more months, so
Okay.
make sure that you do that. And with that, that should take care of it for this evening. Thank you. Scott Klimek. Mr. Klimek, do I have your correct address on Main Street in Stoughton?
Yes.
Okay, you've been cited for disorderly conduct with violence. That citation carries a penalty of $250. Do you understand what disorderly conduct with violence is?
Yes.
All right, you understand the forfeiture on this is $250?
Yes.
The bond amount ranges from $50 plus costs, which is $124, and $1,000 plus costs. You're on the low end, rather low end of the disorderly conduct. Do you understand that? All right.
Yes.
Any questions for the court?
No.
Now's the time I take your plea. 3 plea options are guilty, no contest, or not guilty.
No contest.
You understand that with no contest plea, I must find you guilty?
Yes.
All right, let me read the police report. I want to make sure I have a factual basis for your plea. Okay, I have the police report. I do find a factual basis for your plea, except your no contest plea. Find you guilty. Anything you'd like to say before I decide on the sentence?
No.
Okay. I do find $250 is appropriate. I will go ahead and impose that $250 forfeiture amount. How much time do you need to pay?
At least 30 days.
I'll give you
I'm
60
on
days.
disab-
I'll give you 60 days as well. There's a phone number on the disposition in order that I'll give you. If you need more time than 60 days, call the number, schedule an appointment where you would come in and ask for more time. The prosecutor usually doesn't have any objection. I like to encourage people to do that. As long as they're making progress, I don't have any problems with it. If you want to step forward, I'll give you the dispositional order, and that will take care of it this evening. Again, thank you. Dustin Martz, or Dustin Mars? Say again? Merritz, thank you. Come on, move your hood.
Sure.
Thank
Sorry.
you. It's all right. Mr., say it again?
Merits?
Merritz.
Yeah.
Mr. Merritz, do I have your correct address at 201 Van Buren Street? You received a few citations. Let me review them one at a time. The first one is for possession of drug paraphernalia. That citation carries a penalty of $187. And the bond amount on that would be $50 plus cost to $1,000 is the bond range. You're at $100 plus cost is your range. Do you understand what possession of drug paraphernalia is?
Yes.
All right. You understand the fine of $187 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
We're being recorded, so doesn't
Sorry.
show up on the tape.
My fault.
I want to make sure if I make a mistake that you appeal me, that you can that we have a clear record for that. All right. Then you received 2 citations. One is for operating with a controlled substance. That citation carries a penalty of $861. In addition, there's additional penalties to that. This is basically operating with a controlled substance and operating while intoxicated, but instead of intoxicated, it's operating with a controlled substance. That, and you also received a citation for operating while under the influence. So citations carry the same forfeiture amounts, and what happens is I can find you guilty on both, but only impose penalties on one.
Okay.
So the 861, the penalties are as follows: $861, 6 points. You have to attend an alcohol and drug assessment, and then there's also there is no IID for possession of THC cases because there's no blood alcohol level. If there was a blood draw, I surcharge $62.82 as well. What am I missing? Oh, and there is a 6 to 7 month driver's license revocation. Technically, the range is 6 to 9 months, but the district that I'm in the court's in, receives a standard chart for OWI penalties, and it's based upon blood alcohol content. But since you didn't have a blood alcohol content, if it was operating while with a controlled substance, what I do is that, so there's nothing to go by, it's 6 months if there's no bad driving, and 7 months if there was bad driving, is the
Okay.
range that I have. So $861, 6 points, AO, you have to attend an assessments, 6 to 7 month driver's license revocation, and $62.82. And that's in addition to the $187 possession of drug paraphernalia.
Okay.
Now, the forfeiture range on these OWIs are $150 to $300. However, there's a $425 surcharge, and there's various state charges, which brings you up to the $861.
Okay.
The minimum on that might be $711, the maximum might be $950. So
Okay.
that would be the range of those as well. All right. Any questions regarding the operating while under the influence
Nope.
citation? Any questions for the court at all?
No?
Now is the time I take your plea, your
No
plea?
contest.
Okay. You understand with a no contest plea, I must find you guilty?
Yes.
Let me read the police report. I want to make sure I have a factual basis for your plea.
Okay.
Does he-
Oh, let me back up for a second. Before I take your no contest plea, I was informed that this is, if this is your second offense, if you had one prior to that, if you had one more than 10 years ago in OWI, what happens is then, the way the state law is written is that there would be any second offense on OWI, even though this is considered a civil
First.
offense. Right, second first. I would have to order an interlock ignition device be installed in all vehicles registered in your name for a period of 12
Okay.
months. $50 surcharge. All right. I want to make sure you're aware of that.
Okay.
And what is your plea?
No contest.
Okay. You understand with no contest plea, I must find you guilty?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for showing patience. Let me review the police report. I want to make sure I have a factual basis for your plea. Okay, I've reviewed the police report. I do find a factual basis for your no contest plea, accept your no contest plea and find you guilty. I will note that there was, you were found guilty, excuse me, of an OWI in 2002. I'll note for the record that this was more than 10 years prior to this incident in 2017, so it still counts as a first offense, although it's the second in your lifetime. The way the IID laws are written, that any second offense requires you for an IID. So
Okay.
I'll make the following findings. I'll find that there was no bad driving, so I'll revoke your license for 6 months.
Okay.
Impose a forfeiture of $861, 6 points issued to your driver's license, alcohol and drug assessment, you'll be ordered to take that, and I'll order that an interlock ignition device be installed in all vehicles registered in your name, and surcharge you $50 for that. And that will be for a period of 12 months
Okay.
on the IID, so. Oh, and I also will surcharge that blood draw for $62.82. How much time do you need to pay?
As much as possible, I mean, that's.
I'll give you
know,
6 months. I
Okay.
think that's a significant fine. I'll also find you guilty of the possession of drug paraphernalia and impose $187. So let me see if I've got all this. 861 plus 50 plus 82 plus. Okay, it's $1,160.82. Yep, so, okay. Mr. Martz, I have some paperwork for you if you want to step forward. It is an assessment form. You have to call this number within 72 hours. That's the way you get your driver's license back, so, okay. If you want to sign both, where it says defendant, you keep one and I keep one. Trade. Okay, while we're getting all that, we sign this. At this point, just want to make sure people understand that, so, okay? Okay.
Here's some of those.
Okay, so I'm going to give you basically what is an OWI assessment. This is the number that you have to call within 72 hours, or 72 hours? 72 hours, thank you. Interlock ignition device order, and then that's the form. Because what happens if you get caught without an IID, it's a misdemeanor then. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then, yep, exactly. So, and there's the IID costs, and then occupational license information. And then I'll give you the judgment of convictions. Okay. If you want to have a seat at the table, I'll be ready. So, thank you. Okay. While your case is printing, I'm going to go ahead and call the next case then. Tracy Williamson? Ms. Williamson, do I have your correct address on Hillside Avenue in Stoughton?
Yes.
All right. You received citations for the following. You received a citation for operating a motor vehicle while under the influence of an intoxicant. You also received a citation for operating a motor vehicle with a prohibited alcohol concentration. These citations, you probably know them more as drunk driving.
Yes.
The penalties are as follows. It's an $861 forfeiture. It's a 6 points issued your driver's license.
Yes.
It's a 6 to 9 month driver's license revocation. And the revocation is depending on your blood alcohol level and your driving. Normally what I do for these, if it's a 1.5 or lower, it's 6 months. If it's a 1.5 to 2, it's 7 months. And if it's a 0.2 or higher, it's 8 months. And if there's bad driving, I add a month to that level. You're also required to take an alcohol and drug assessment class as well. And then if you're a 1.5 or higher, or it's a second offense, I have to order an interlock ignition device to be installed on all vehicles registered in your name for a period of 12 months. And that would be a $50 surcharge as well. Do you understand what an interlock ignition device is?
Yes.
Okay. And now, the penalties for the OWI are the same. I can find you guilty of both, but only impose one set of penalties then. Okay. Forfeiture range on the OWI was $150 to $300. The assessment's $425, and the rest are state added costs. Okay. Do you understand the OWI?
Yes.
You understand the PAC?
Yes.
You understand the penalties as I've described them tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions for the court?
Is there any classes to take to not have the thing on my car?
No, it's the state mandate says if you're 1.5 or higher, I have to order it. If you're below that, I don't. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Now is the time I take your plea.
No
Guilty?
contest.
I'm sorry?
No contest.
You understand with no contest plea, I must find you guilty?
Mhm.
Let me read the police report. I want to make sure I have a factual basis for your plea. All right, I have reviewed the police report. I do find a factual basis for your plea, accept your no contest plea, and find you guilty. I'll note that the blood alcohol content was a 1.5. The range on this is a 1.50 and a 1.63, rounded down to a 1.5. You're right at the limit. Since you're right at the limit and there was a deficient sample, I will find that, since you're right at the limit, I will not order an interlock condition device because it looks like it could have went either way because you're literally right on the limit with that. So I use my judicial discretion to say that you're actually below a 1.5 given the deficient sample on this. So I will not order an interlock condition device, be it sold in your car, or the $50 surcharge. I'll impose a forfeiture of $861 and 6 points issued to your driver's license. I'll revoke your driver's license for 6 months, order that you attend an alcohol and drug assessment classes as well, and that will be it. Any questions for the court? Okay. What I'd like to do, I've got an assessment form for you to fill out if you want to step forward. What's that? Oh, how much time do you need to pay? Okay, I'll give you 30 days to pay. Like I said, note with the record, the sub-record card was right at a 1.5. Could go either way. So. Yeah. Okay. So if you want to sign where it says defendant, yep. You sign one, and sign two, and I'll keep one. You can keep one. I'm sorry. Correct. Yes. I'll sign this one. I'll sign them both. That one. I'll keep this one. A second, yeah. Yeah, I will give you the number to call in just a second. Okay. Now we're waiting for the paperwork. All right, I'm going to give you a judgment in order, a couple of them. The OWI assessment, there's a number here which you should call. Call that number first before you go. Yeah. I would imagine like at 8 in the morning. Or maybe you could go to the DMV. They'll probably say to call that as well. That will actually, I suppose you could go first. Normally people call first, but.
I didn't call first in the morning, and then I just know I have to try to apply for my patient license, so
And all that information's here. I didn't order that. Okay, and then it's not ordered. So, and there's some questions regarding actually, I don't need that either. This one too? Okay. So this is the assessment information, occupational license, and the safety plan. You can do both. And in fact, you might, if you're planning on going to DOT first, I don't think it matters if you call the assessment first or go to the DOT first. Okay. All right, with that dealt. Yes. All right, thank you. Brandon Olson. Mr. Olson, do I have your correct address on Togstead, Glen, and Madison?
Yes.
All right. You received a citation for failure to yield to pedestrian, bicyclist, or EPAMD. That citation carries a penalty of $98.80 and 4 demerit points issued to your driver's license. You understand what failure to yield to pedestrian is?
Yes.
All right. Forfeit, sorry, I didn't, right now I recognize you. So, I didn't recognize you before. It's been a long time. How are you, Mr. Olson?
Very good.
Good. Okay, the penalty on this range is 346.23. There's a range on all these citations. And I'll just note for the record, I knew you when I was in law school, but that was a long time ago, so.
Yes.
You, yeah, we ran in the same, had some common friends. Okay. Okay, the penalty range on this is $20 to $40. You're right in the middle, it's $30 plus cost. In addition, for failure to yield, the DOT oftentimes makes you take a class before, in addition to receiving these penalties as well. Do you understand what failure to yield to a pedestrian is?
Yes.
All right. You understand the forfeiture of points, 4 points and $98.80?
Yes.
Any questions for the court?
Nope.
Now's the time I take your plea.
No contest.
Okay, you understand with no contest plea, I must find you guilty?
Yes.
All right. Why'd you appear in court tonight?
The officer recommended I.
And again, I don't, there's nothing I can do about these. So-
I understand.
All right. Hey, just a minute, Mr. Olson. All right, I have reviewed the police report. I do find a factual basis for plea, except for no contest plea, and find you guilty. Anything you'd like to say before I decide on a sentence?
Nope.
Well, you know, I can't do the points, but I can give you the minimum forfeiture, which I will do since you appeared tonight. That'll be $20 plus cost of $86.20. It's a little bit cheaper, but not. It's a tight range on this citation. Then, how much time do you need to pay?
None.
Okay, I'll give you this. You can take it to the dispatch window downstairs and just pay at the window, and that will take care of it then. You want to step forward? I can give you the disposition in order. Good seeing you again. I know. That's good. Thank you. This is Alicia Martin.
Ticket was not given to the person, and then she just showed me when she checked in that she's had a name change.
Okay.
So everything, I don't know if I need to do paperwork, because I get this all right ahead of time.
Okay. Next will be Alicia Lessner, AKA Alicia Martin. And it's Miss Martin, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Miss Martin, do I have your correct address on County Ann in Stoughton?
Yes.
I received a couple of citations. Let me review them. You received a citation for operating a motor vehicle while under the influence. You also received a companion ticket for operating a motor vehicle with a prohibited alcohol concentration. Do you understand what both these citations are?
Yes.
All right, they're both known as drunk driving. The penalty, let me explain, the penalties are as follows. It's an $861 forfeiture. It's 6 points issued your driver's license. You have to attend an alcohol and drug assessment class if you're found guilty. And the driver's license revocation period is 6 to 9 months. The driver's license revocation depends on the following factors. If you're a .15 or lower, I have 6 months. If you're 1.5 to 1.9, it's 7 months. If you're a .2 or higher, it's 8 months. If there's bad driving, I add a month to that time frame. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. In addition, if you your blood alcohol content was a 1.5 or higher, or you've had a prior OWI, I have to order an interlock ignition device be installed on all vehicles registered in your name for a period of 12 months. I also have to surcharge you $50 for that as well. Okay. Do you understand what an IID is?
Yes.
All right. Do you understand the rest of the forfeitures, the penalties as well?
Yes.
Okay. Again, a companion ticket. Any questions for the court?
No.
Now's the time I take your plea. Guilty, no contest, or not guilty?
No contest.
Okay. You understand with no contest plea, I must find you guilty?
Yes.
All right. Let me read the police report so I have a factual basis. Okay. I have reviewed the police report. I do find a factual basis. I'll accept your no contest plea and find you guilty. I'll make the following findings. I'll find that your blood alcohol content was a .11. I'll find that there was no bad driving. However, I will find that you had a prior OWI in 1992. This is a first for this court, but it's the second overall. So because of that, I'll make the following penalties. I'll impose a penalty of $861, 6 merit points issued your driver's license, order that you attend an alcohol and drug assessment class, and I'll order that your driver's license be revoked for 6 months. Since it's a second offense, I'll order that an interlock ignition device be installed in all vehicles registered in your name for a period of 12 months, and I'll surcharge you $50 for that. Okay, any questions? Okay. If you want to step forward, I've got some paperwork for you. 6 months. 4. Oh, how much time do you need to pay? Okay, I'll give you 6 months as well. Okay. Now, what we're going to do, you just recently changed your name, is that correct? Okay. We'll provide you with the information as needed, but if you changed your name, it was based upon your prior name for that. It's still reflected in your driver's license, but if it becomes an issue or the ID won't install because it's a different name, just let me know. We can cross that bridge then. I'm going to give you this assessment form. You have 72 hours to call this, or this is indicated, this is a driver safety plan. Go ahead and sign where indicated. You sign both, I keep one and you keep one. Thanks. I'm going to go ahead and date both 11/15/17. Good evening, Ms. Wilson. How are you?
Good evening, Judge.
Here's yours. I'll keep one. Okay. Here's the judgment and orders for this. Giving you 6 months to pay. This is the assessment. You got to call that number right away. This is the interlock ignition device order that I have. This is the referral form, numbers that you can call. This explains the interlock ignition device. Frequently asked questions for it. And then the application. If you are under the poverty limit, you can apply and have the reduced by 50%. And then this is the occupational license information. Okay. All the information. I think you're eligible for it right away. Let me check. Yeah, we have to have the IND installed first, so. Thank you. It's good memory. Grant Johnson? Mr. Johnson, do I have your correct address on Summit Avenue in Stoughton?
Yes.
All right. You're speeding on a city highway is what you've been cited with, 11 to 15 miles an hour over the limit. This citation carries a penalty of $98.80 and 4 demerit points issued your driver's license. Do you understand what speeding on a city highway 11 to 15 is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I give 10-mile-an-hour leeways on these, so instead of 11 to 15, if you enter a no contest plea, I would cite you for 1 to 10 over, which would be 3 points instead of 4 and same forfeiture.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Any questions regarding the speeding citation?
No.
To the amended citation of 1 to 10 over, what is your plea?
No contest.
Okay, you understand with no contest plea, I must find you guilty?
Yes.
Let me review the police report. I want to make sure I have a factual basis for your plea.
Okay.
I have reviewed the police report. I do find a factual basis for your plea. Accept your no contest plea and find you guilty of speeding 1 to 10 over, 3 points, same forfeiture of $98.80. Now, Mr. Johnson, how much time do you need to pay for the $98.80?
It would be nice if I could break it up into 2 payments.
How about I give you 60 days? I don't know if they accept partial payments or not. They do. So maybe you could make one payment in 30 days and the second payment in 60 days.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will make sure that that's reflected in your judgment and order. They'll be printed in just a second.
Okay.
When it's ready, you can step forward and
Yep.
take this. And they'll take care of it for this evening then. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Tony Waters?
There's one more after him.
Right.
It's not checked on your list.
Mr. Waters, do I have your correct address on Main Street in Stoughton?
That's one of them.
Okay. Is that the correct one?
Yeah, I get mail there.
Okay, that's, in other words, if we need to correspond with you, then that
Yeah.
you'll get it there.
Nope,
Okay.
nope.
You received a citation for operating a motor vehicle after revocation or suspension of registration. That citation carries a penalty of $98.80 and 0 points issued to your driver's license. Do you understand what operating after revocation or suspension of your registration is?
Yeah, I sure do. I didn't know I had that. It was suspended.
Have you
And-
updated your
And as
registration now?
soon as I did find out, I did pay the ticket and got it renewed.
Okay. Do you have a copy of the renewal right now?
My mom has it.
Okay, how about this? Why don't we enter a not guilty plea? Schedule this for a pretrial conference on December 13th. I'm sure that you'll meet with the prosecutor who's sitting, are you there that night?
I am.
Yeah, okay. You'll meet with Ms. Wilson that night. I'm sure that she'd be interested in receiving that evidence then.
Okay.
Okay, we'll enter a not guilty plea.
Well, I was guilty though. I was driving.
But
you
we-
know. If you want to be technical, I was guilty of driving. You know.
I don't necessarily want to be technical. I want to see if you and the city attorney can reach an agreement on this.
Oh, okay.
We'll enter a not guilty plea. We'll schedule the pretrial conference on December 13th. Make sure that you appear and bring that, the evidence that the registration's been updated. It's held downstairs in the conference room.
I might have the receipt, I guess, if that's. I just cleaned my pocket out the other night, though. Yeah, I was carrying it
Okay.
around.
We'll enter a not guilty plea. Just make sure that you appear and give that, and then hopefully you and the city can resolve the citation. All right, thank you.
Robert Moore.
Robert Moore? Mr. Moore, do I have your correct address on Main Street in Stoughton?
Yeah.
You received a citation for operating motor vehicle without insurance. Citation carries a penalty of $124 and 0 points issued to your driver's license. You understand what operating motor vehicle without insurance is?
Yes.
All right, any questions regarding the 0 points or 124?
Well, the vehicle I was driving did have insurance.
Okay, do you have proof of that right now? You actually, why don't you show show her first there.
Can I have your citation, actually?
My girlfriend's name is Melissa, and her husband at the time was Clifford. And here's the identification cards, the expiration dates, and the date it was
Okay.
issued. I was
Okay.
driving to the grocery store. I didn't know if she had insurance or not. But he issued me a ticket anyway.
Oh, that's your license number. Oh, okay. It was a
The citations are hard to read, it's hard to.
2018.
I always struggle with it too.
It's 10.
Oh, thanks. 2000. Okay, the citation date was 10/9.
During that time, I was insured.
Yep. Okay, yeah, you can show this to the judge. It was insured.
Okay. Yeah, let me see it.
He's not, yeah.
So it's insured, let me make sure I have that policy number. Now I can see why you had a hard time reading this. Okay. Any objections to dismissal?
No objections.
Okay, Mr. Moore, you've shown me proper proof that the vehicle was insured, therefore the court on its own motion will move to dismiss the citation.
Wants to wait a minute, I'll give him.
Mr. Moore, I can give you an order indicating that the citation is dismissed if you want to wait about 10 seconds.
Oh.
There you go. Thank you, that'll take care of it this evening. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, I had one defendant,
Yeah.
he put on his hat and started walking around here, so just be careful of him. Here, let me show you the name.
Ah.
Well, he had a refusal. But wasn't sure that he was gonna enter a no contest plea, but his driver's license had already been revoked because he didn't challenge the refusal. So he started getting argumentative but wasn't sure, so I just said a not guilty plea, so you might wanna
Okay.
just be cautious, please, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure,
There's usually somebody in the office right there,
okay,
and they can hear
okay.
through the wall, because I can hear them.
Okay. All right, do you have a pretrial conference? as
do.
well? I should have had you bring it up before.
Your Honor, one of the, what is that here? Mr. Reedy paid, but they showed up.
Okay,
So I didn't know how to handle it.
I
Should
thought
we
he
move to
would
vacate
explain
it?
that to you because he has a probationary license, but right after he turned 18, so he is eligible now for the real license, and the DOT doubled the points and brought him to 0. So no points left, so,
But he paid, so does that mean
Right.
you plead guilty?
that way. He had paid previously before he even talked to me about this.
I don't necessarily know, I could just hold the bond until he's found guilty. That might be a way around that, if points are an issue. That was,
You want me to mark it? I didn't do, it's right there. I didn't put anything because I assumed when you pay, you just plead. And so
usually that's the case, but did he appear?
He did appear.
And
Good.
he didn't know. He's
I'll
very
set it
Yeah,
confused.
okay.
He was in tears in
Yeah.
my office.
Yeah, we want him to have his
How about this, why don't we just set it on for another pretrial?
When's the next one, Your Honor?
December 13th.
December 13th?
Would that be enough time to clear it? Probably won't be.
Yeah, him and his
Thanks. Yeah, we had a high number of OWIs today. We didn't have that big of a docket, but that's what took a while to
They're actually dying.
clear, yeah.
They got more grant money, I'm assuming?
Just,
'Tis the
Oh.
season.
Yuck.
Oh, okay. And oftentimes for failure to yield, I don't know if they require, it's uneven enforcement, but failure to yield citations, the DOT mandates a class that they have to take. So I usually will warn them about that, and because of that, I encourage them to enter not guilty pleas to see if you can do that.
Yeah, I haven't really looked into that. All I know is that there's a class that's required,
Right.
which is interesting.
And from what I've been told, sometimes people receive notice and sometimes they don't. It's unevenly enforced, so,
Interesting.
yeah. Dismiss it if proof of counsel approved in 90 days. Go be here, okay, good. Okay, the rest of them are approved. Okay, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right, great. Court's adjourned.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Mary.
Assess the appeal on the restitution hearing.
I guess the guy has been calling now, so we need to do defaults.
Oh, yes, so has everybody else.
Oh,
So-
boy. He's cancer. and
Okay.
settled.
I see you had a few criers out there today.
I know.
Oh. I didn't have any today. I was lucky.
I don't think I was any more, I try not to be too harsh. All right, thank you, Ms. Wilson. All right, Julie Anderson is a bond forfeiture. Thank you for reminding me of this. Charles Arnold is a bond forfeiture. Cody Bowers is a default judgment. Linton Bryce is a default judgment of both citations. Stephen Connor is a bond forfeiture on both citations. Sean Edge is a default judgment. Ariane Engen is a default judgment. Tristan Erickson is a default judgment. Donnie Femright is a default judgment. Jeremiah Fry is a default judgment on, 6 citations. Graham Harrison is a bond forfeiture. Stephen Jesberger is a bond forfeiture. Jenna Carls is a default judgment. Michael Lancaster is a default judgment on both citations. Anthony Lee is a default judgment on both citations. Eliana Lenore is a default judgment. Alexander Marr is a default judgment. Rodney McGowan is a default judgment on both citations, or all 3 citations. Damian Orton is a bond forfeiture. Serena Partridge is a default judgment. Mahariana Patrinos is a default judgment. Danny Perkins is a default judgment on 8 citations. Okay. Alice Peterson is a bond forfeiture. Justin Stewart is a default judgment. Braxton Walton is a default judgment on both citations. Actually, on all 3 citations. 4. Caitlin Rose is a default judgment. Eric Woods is a default judgment on both citations. Anything else? Thank you. Court's adjourned.